Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Joe Longo. This is 30 Days of Inspiration, and this is my good friend Jennifer Ciarimboli.
Hello everybody.
And we are in, where are we? Where is this?
We are in Shavertown, Pennsylvania.
Shavertown, Pennsylvania, which is by 44
Kingston, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. Yeah.
Northeast PA. Beautiful. If you can only see what is around us, it's stunning.
Yes.
So Jen and I go way back, way back.
Way back.
Before this.
When Joe had hair.
Joe had hair. And played football and was an athlete.
Yes, he was a star football player.
We're going super far back. And then I'm still so curious about this. My first teaching job was at Jen's first studio.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. That was your first?
That was my first.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, that was my first real teaching job.
Yeah.
And the weird thing was the evening that I decided that I was going to move back.
Oh yeah,
to
you
Northeast
moved back.
PA.
Yep.
Like I made the decision. I didn't tell anybody. I don't think I told anyone. And you sent me a message like the next day. And I was like, I heard you're coming back. Do you want to teach at my studio?
That's so funny.
And I'm like, how do you know this?
I think Amy told me you were moving back. Yeah, because I think that we were in touch about some yoga stuff, and I was asking about your name came up.
And it was just like but it was so like the next day.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
well, I guess this is the universe telling me that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And the best thing about it was, and I tell people this all the time that do teacher trainings, like as soon as you're done, try to start teaching.
Yeah.
Like teach somewhere, teach somebody, even if it's not in a studio, but just so you can jump right in.
Absolutely, as much as you can, just teach. Yeah.
So at Jen's studio, there was no Kundalini yoga.
No.
And she was like, nobody really knows about it, so why don't you do a workshop first?
Yeah.
So not only was it was my first class.
Yeah.
It was my first workshop that I was ever teaching as my first class.
It was probably one of my first workshops. It was 10 years. That was 10 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, oh, we have like 10 people. And then I saw you that day downstairs in the cafe. And it was cute because I actually had on my white that day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so nervous. And you were like, are you ready? There's like 21 people up there.
Yeah.
And I was so freaked out.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, I couldn't let it show, but I'm like, oh my God.
I didn't know.
I've never taught a class. And now I'm teaching a 2-hour workshop to 20 people. Like it was, but it was the best because it really threw me out.
You got right in.
And it was such a great experience.
Yeah, it was. Those were really, really. There was like this magic to everything when Balance opened, and it was just people coming in and out, and the right people showing up, and just really good energy.
So obviously, Jen used to own a yoga studio.
Yeah.
And so you've migrated out of studio ownership,
I did.
Now you're
teaching.
Tell us.
I'm teaching a lot. Well, I sold the studio a little over 3 years ago. So that was a really huge transition for me. So it was almost like losing your identity. So it was weird for a while. But I just kind of threw myself into teaching. We had some different challenges going on in our family, and so I was taking care of different things. A lot of personal stuff came up, so I was really preoccupied with that for a little while. And then when some space cleared, I really committed to continuing my education with Sarah Powers and the Insight Yoga Institute, which I became involved in back in 2014, but actually started learning from Sarah, started doing training with Sarah in 2009. So Yin Yoga's been my focus, and working with Sarah, I've also been really immersed in Buddhism and Western psychology, and energetics, working with the energy movement in Yin Yoga, the meridian system of Chinese medicine. Just really, like, it's just something that just turns me on. It's interesting. I really feel like I'm like this lifelong student of trying to figure it out. Right?
Of life, pretty
Right.
much.
Right, just look at like a seeker, and I don't really know where that drive comes from. Like, I'm not sure, but it's this deep kind of inner wanting, like this not craving, because I think that craving really creates a lot of suffering. But it's this desire to seek and learn and grow and put myself in situations where I'm not always comfortable, because I think when we're stretching there in a space of discomfort, and not just physically, no pun intended, right? But when we're really kind of putting ourselves out there in a way that we're feeling a little vulnerable or unsure, we really grow by leaps and bounds, and that really interests me. So I want to see how I confront spaces of discomfort and not turn away from that.
Right. I talked with Jennifer Shelter the other day, and at the end, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
But we were talking about, like, how do you really find your passion? You know, like what to do. And she had said, like, you listen to that thing. It's like that little voice. It's like is keep pushing at you.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I should, like, there's something. And like, if it's that desire to learn more, to study more,
right,
like, it's to follow that. So it's great that you are like saying that, oh, I just listen, like, it's just that voice inside, and it feels like this is the way I should be going.
Yeah, and we find a deeper connection to that inner listening when we're in stillness. Because life's really busy, like, it's crazy here. And I'm surprised there's no animals jumping around us, but life gets really busy, and as I get older, I really, really need to balance out that busyness with silence, with quietude, with stillness. That depth changes things. So the practices have really shifted for me over the last 5 years, especially. And I think the biggest shift that I've had was when I was introduced to the mindfulness practices, the Buddhist mindfulness practices. And I just knew that it was just this game changer, right? That's where my work was. That I needed more of that, right? So,
do you have a very active house?
Right.
How
yes.
with some pups? How do you manage your practice and your house and your family?
That's a good question.
And these dogs.
Right.
Because there's so many people. Like, on the way up, I was listening to a Rich Roll podcast, and the gentleman that was on was talking about TM meditation, and most of the times he's always like, people are just like, I don't have 20 minutes. I don't have the 20 minutes in the morning. I don't have the 20 minutes at night to actually sit down.
Right.
So how, for the people out there, being a mom and with two big dogs and everything,
it's busy.
Make the time for yourself?
I really schedule everything. So that's really important to me, because if I don't, it doesn't happen. But what I also, there's a couple things I want to say. So let me start with that. I get up really early. So I'm up during the school year at 4:45. And during the summer months at 5. And so I get all of my practices in before my kids wake up. And I have coffee.
Coffee's great.
Yes. And it's just my routine. And I really, that time in the morning is really special. and it comes before everything else. So when one of my kids get up or my husband gets up, like he's been getting up really early, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you down here? And so, because it's sacred space for me in my day. And it, we don't need, I really love to have a big chunk of time for meditation. 24 minutes is fantastic, but I know I need 6 minutes. Right? So that 24-minute gap, ideally, that's where my space is. But if I only have 6 minutes, I sit for 6 minutes. And everyone has 6 minutes, right?
Right.
So we could find little gaps of time throughout the day. And my teacher always reinforces the fact that small gaps of time to sit and practice with are just as, if not more effective than these longer sits, especially for beginners. So when I'm, teaching meditation classes, when I'm teaching my students mindfulness practices, I really, really try to reinforce that idea and just give them some confidence going in, because I want to set them up to succeed. Right? And really the consistency is more important than the amount of time that you're sitting, especially in the beginning. So just, making space. And it's funny that you mentioned like the busyness of the house. What I find is if I drop myself in the middle of it all, right? Just sit down, like right there. Just throw a pillow down, sit down, and turn my timer on. Nobody bothers me. The dog's quiet, the kids just leave me alone. But it's when I lock myself into my practice space by my altar that everybody's banging on the door, the dogs are scratching, So for me at least, when I really do feel like I just need to sit and breathe and find that space inside, I just kind of will sit wherever I am. I'll just plop down and it works.
And it almost sounds like that when you do just plop down, it brings a sense of calm to the whole house.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So I drove up today to create some images with Jennifer for a manual, a Yin training.
Right. I'm updating my Yin Yoga teaching manual that I used for my level 1 teacher training for Yin Yoga. So just rewriting, updating, getting new images for it, going into a new print. I just completed the level 3 training with Sarah, and I'm trying to finish all my hours for the Insight Yoga certification. So it's like a 6-year process. So I have a couple more silent retreats, and we do work with a Western psychology method called internal family systems. So I'm looking forward to doing some of that training. And I just committed to doing a 2-year training with Tara Brock and Jack Kornfield, which I'm really excited about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's running through part of UC Berkeley's, it's the Greater Good Science Center, and it's something I'm really excited about. But just deepening there, and I really was looking for that discipline. So it's something I'm really excited about. And so I'm just really focused on teacher trainings. I have 8 scheduled next year. I'm teaming up with an acupuncturist, and we're writing an advanced training that's going to focus on energetics and mindfulness. So we're going to be, we're working on that right now. We're looking towards fall of 2019 to schedule our first trainings for that. And I'm doing a lot of teacher immersions, workshops. I still teach a few group classes every week. Just trying to balance it all.
Right. Sounds
but it's
like
all good, yeah.
It's a lot. So for my Philly friends that are watching, Jennifer's obviously awesome. If you need or want some fun workshops or trainings, hit me up. I can connect you with Jennifer.
Awesome.
She'll be linked out. But she's got good stuff. We have good stuff up here in the mountains.
Yeah, it's a really vibrant community up here,
is.
and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
So thank you so much for taking the time
Yes.
to chat with me.
Thank you.
And now for our hard question.
Okay.
If you can give the world, all of our viewers out there, one little nugget of advice to keep them moving forward in the direction of their dreams, goals, passions, what might that be?
Well, I think it starts with looking inward and just pausing. This belly space is so important. And so just dropping down into this space of intuition and wisdom and this deep sense of knowing and trust. If we're really wanting to put ourselves out there, we need to leap forward, right? You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable, but we need to do that in a safe way. And I think the safest way to take that leap is by connecting in. You know, that space of the hara is just this space of grounding, this space of primordial kind of wisdom, you know, that earth center. So the more we can connect there, the deeper trust we'll have in any situation. And I do believe that's what it takes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. This is Jennifer. I'll link her up below, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.